So you purchased this Yugo SK1, and it is a fantastic media player in its own rights, but you would like to try the SlimBOXtv version onto this device? Well, this video is going to show you what it looks like and how to install it. So that's what we're going to do right now. Okay, there's a couple files we need to download. We have to download the burning tool. Now that's what I actually used to burn the firmware onto this device. So we're going to go ahead and download that. And then we need the official firmware just in case we want to go back to the original firmware. So we're going to download that. And here is our Slimbox version. That's what we're going to download right here. And I'll show you what it does. Okay, now we're going to get this ATV version. So that's what we're going to do right there. So we go ahead and download it from here. Okay, you can notice that I've purchased a lot of these boxes throughout the years. And I always keep the firmwares in those folders. Now here's the one right here. And there's the backup firmware. And this is the one we will be installing right here. Okay, I've already decompressed it and it brought this image file, IMG, and 1.7 gigabytes. When you download the official firmware, you get several different items in that download, and I'll show you what they are right now. Now here is the original firmware, and when you download it, this is the files you get in that download. Of course, I've decompressed those and put them in the proper folder. But here is the firmware update procedure guide. So I'll show you that in just a minute. And here's the image itself. Now that's the one that you can bring that box back to the original firmware. So we always need that so we can go back. And here is the Amlogic USB burning tool that we will be able to use to put different firmwares onto this box. So they provide all that in that firmware download right there. So that's where you get all those files. Okay, let's take a look at this PDF file and see what we need. Now this is for the AM8 and the SK1. The SK1 is the one that I have. And that just tells you how to install it if you haven't already installed it. Now this is the important information here. Connect your device to the USB OTG cable. For the AM8, use the USB-A to USB Type-C cable. Okay, now we're using the SK1. We use a USB-A to USB-A OTG cable. That's right here. Now they show it on the USB 3 port. Normally the OTG port is a USB 2 port, but they must know what they're saying, so we will connect it to the USB 3 port. And the recovery, press and hold the recovery button. The SK1 has a recovery button located inside the 3.5 millimeter audio jack. Now a lot of your media players have it located there, and other ones have a recovery hole somewhere on the device itself. So you will have to take a look and find out where it's at, but since we're using the SK1, it's in the 3.5-inch audio jack. So that's where we will find it, right there. So we use a toothpick with the end cut off, a round toothpick. That's what we'll use right there. Okay, we're going to install the burning tool right now. So here's what you need to do. Now it doesn't show it, but I'm running on Windows 11, so it's the same as Windows 10. We've already downloaded the image file. We've downloaded the burning tool. So now we're going to go ahead and install that burning tool. And all you do is download it, which I showed you it's in the folder, and extracted it, and now we double click it and run it. So here's the first screen you're going to get right there. You go ahead and click next. And right here you select the language. It comes with Chinese language. So if you go over here, that one there, and select English. So that's what you do there. So you need to put it English. Open the firmware and press the start button, it says. I've done it many different times because if you noticed, in the last 10 or 15 years, I've done a lot of these different boxes. But anyway, you go ahead and install the firmware and I'll show you how to do that. But there's the information. Okay, I went ahead and installed that firmware version 3.2.8. That's Amlogic USB burning tool. Okay, here's the settings. Well, language. Okay, third item over. English. Load our image. That one there. Okay, now here's the stock image. That's what's on there right now. We want to put this one here. These are the ones we just downloaded. I'll use that one right there. Okay, we loaded the image in. Okay, there it is right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and hook everything up to the box. We'll go ahead and click start. And I'll hook everything up to the box and I'll show you that now. Before we show you the SlimBOXtv version, I want to show you the original one that's on here right now. Now, right now, I'm running CoreELEC off a micro SD card, which is inserted into this SK1 from Yugo. So that's what it is right there. So I'll go ahead and dual boot back into the stock firmware of the Ugoos SK1. All I do is click that, go down to reboot from eMMC/NAND. Now that's the internal memory. That's where the Android operating system is running off of. So that's what we're doing right now. Okay, just booted. Didn't take too long. Now this is the newest Amlogic system on the chip, S928X-K. Now the K means it is Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos certified. Now it's booting up. Now this is the screen. This is the stock screen. Okay, now we are going to replace this with an ATV, Google ATV interface. So that's what we're going to do right now. But this is the existing firmware, stock firmware. I need to clarify something. A little bit earlier, I said it used a micro SD card for the CoreELEC operating system, but no, it indeed has to use a pen drive. Right there. So it uses one of those. Just to clarify that. Okay, we're using a toothpick with the ends cut off on both because the reset button is inside that AV hole right here. So we're going to have to depress that reset button as we plug in this USB cable. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, it's booting up into the SlimBOXtv operating system. Okay, let's see if we can pair it. It shows us exactly what buttons to push. Let's see. Okay, there we go. I think it did pair it. Okay, here's the first screen after it booted up. SlimBOX settings. Basically, it's the same thing as a Yugo settings. He just put a different face on it. So we'll go ahead and set things up and we will be right back. Okay, let's take a look at the apps section. Okay, this is what it has installed. I have not added anything yet. So let's take a look at the Google Play Store. I recommend it for you. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and add some of these and take a look at it when we get done. Okay, before we log into these apps, let's take a look at the settings. Device preferences, about, there's the firmware version. Again, this is the Ugoos firmware version. Model SK1 running Android 11. And the kernel version is dated August the 28th. I'm not going through all the settings, but I will go through the display and sound. Resolution, 2160 by 60 hertz. Now here's the one that you set up the HDR policy, the Dolby Vision. We're going to go standard. Go back to HDR policy. We want to use the adaptive. Now, if your TV, like a Samsung, does not support the Dolby Vision, then you would say always HDR. Automatic frame rate. Okay, we're going to switch frame rate and resolution. We're going to do that. There's a list of applications that can do that. Just about all of them. Now, a lot of these we're going to get rid of. So we'll go into the settings and get rid of some of these that we don't use. Now, here's the frequency switching policy. Do not switch if a frequency is a multiple. Double the frequency. I'm going to use the exact match if possible. That's what I'm going to use. System sounds, I'll turn that on. I'll enable that. Sound over HDMI, sound over SPDIF, which we're not using. We're using the audio through the HDMI cable. Advanced sound settings. USB audio. Select the formats. Use the formats that your device reports supporting. That's one we're going to use right there. These are the audio codecs that it does support: Dolby Digital, Dolby Digital Plus, DTS, DTS HD, and Dolby True HD. Those are supported audio codecs. Now here's the home screen setting, customized channels. Now, right now we're only showing Apple TV, but as we add the other ones, they will show up here. So I'll show you that later after we enable some of these apps. Enable video previews. Okay, take a look at the developer options. Okay, I may enable some of those later on as I need them. Here's some reset options. Erase all, that's a factory reset. Reset Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Reset app preferences. Anyway, that's your different reset options. Additional settings. And these are just standard Android settings. Take a look at Slimbox settings. You can change your fonts. You can change your fonts, density, animations. Now, basically, these are Ugoos settings. Okay, anyway, those are his settings. Super user, that's if you want root, which I don't know why. Show status bar, we could do that. Hardware monitor. Now those come in handy if you want to monitor some things like the CPU temperature, the frequency, CPU load. Now those come in handy if you want to do some diagnostics on it. Now here's your Bluetooth settings. Now there's the remote control that it paired up at the beginning. Now here's the apps. Now we will delete a lot of those. Okay, for instance, we're going to delete that one. Okay, so that one's gone. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to delete a bunch that we do not use. Okay, let's take a look at some of these apps and see what they do. Now remember now, this is not a streamer. This is for your own media. However, since it does have Widevine level 1, it does play some of these apps, but usually they're 1080p. This is Apple TV Plus application. Now this particular episode is 4K, Dolby Vision, and it's got Dolby Atmos audio on my AV receiver. However, some of these other ones crashes it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. That video right there on the Apple TV Plus, now that episode plays perfectly. Dolby Vision and with Dolby Atmos. However, some of these other ones do not play at all, they crash it. If I play that one or that one, it crashes. So we're going to try it out right now. Okay, as you see, I tried to play that one and it crashed the box. So that application works sometimes and sometimes it don't. Now Kodi plays your own personal media very well. However, Plex and MB do not. They don't pass through the HD audio codecs nor the Dolby Vision or anything like that. So no, those do not work. Kodi works extremely well though, like I showed you about the Apple TV. Now let's take a look at Paramount Plus. This is Paramount Plus. Now that one's using 1080p at 24 frames per second. You know, here's a movie from Paramount Plus, and it's 1080p at 24 frames per second. So apparently that's as high as it goes, is 1080p, no 4K. This is Fandango. It used to be Voodoo, and that's where you have your own media on the cloud, so I'll show you that next. So we're going to play one of these right now, but again, this crashes this box when I play one with 4K Dolby Vision. Okay, it shows that I purchased a 4K UHD. Now if I click watch, it's going to crash the box. Now again, this box is not made for streaming apps. This is made for your own media, which works very well for your own media using Kodi. But I'm going to go ahead and try it right now. So you can see it's rebooting right now. Okay, I showed you which apps work and which apps don't. So we will probably need to uninstall some of these. And again, that's the interface. Where this media player really shines, it dual boots into CoreELEC. Now this one has, since there's no micro SD card slot, you have to use a pen drive. So anyway, once you create it on your computer, the operating system, you do a first boot. That way you don't have to use a toothpick to set the reset. So that's how you do that. Or you could do a normal reboot after you've already created it. Or if you just do a restart, that will automatically start up in CoreELEC. So let's go ahead and do that. Now we're in real time. We'll see how long it takes to boot into CoreELEC, which is another Linux-based operating system for Kodi. Again, it's for your own media. Again, this is real time. This is how long it takes to boot from Android to CoreELEC, running on that pen drive. Okay, there we are right there. So anyway, this device, it's really not great as a streamer. It will play a little bit of the streaming apps, but that's not what this box is made for. So anyway, thank you for watching.